What's going on, guys? So here's a bit of a driving rant, I guess. I've posted a lot of videos on this new 2023 GMC Sierra Denali 1500 with the 3-liter straight 6 diesel mini Duramax, and some of the videos have focused on fuel economy. Some of the videos have focused on some of the things that kind of frustrate me in terms of like features or things that it's lacking. But I haven't really focused much on my overall impressions of this truck since having it. And now that I've broken 1,000 miles, I'm at 1,088 miles. Specifically for me, it's over 1,000 miles now as well. So not just for the truck. So when we got the truck, it had 68 miles on it now. So we're 20 miles over the 1,000 mark in terms of my driving it. And I wanted to just quickly talk to you all about what my overall impressions are of this truck through the break-in period, as well as just driving it as a runaround vehicle, because honestly, I haven't been putting a lot of miles on my 450 since getting this truck. And the miles that I have put on my 450 were basically just to kind of keep it active and running and taking it to the truck wash and getting it cleaned up. So let's talk about this truck. I want to give you kind of a update in terms of how I feel about it. So hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so overall, I'm actually very pleased with this truck. I'm going to give you an overall rating 1 through 10. I'd probably say about a 9. It's actually been a truck that I prefer to drive over my F450 for everyday use. Part of that is because it's a much smoother ride. As much as folks would love to say it's a pickup truck, I prefer the ride of a 3/4 ton or a 1-ton truck. That's not true for the most part. For most people, I don't think. For me, I love my F450. I love driving it. I don't even mind the way it drives. I don't mind how rough it is. But whenever you hop into a more comfortable vehicle like my wife's Expedition, you certainly feel the benefits of a more compliant suspension and a vehicle that's just designed to give you a more comfortable ride. And this truck is also an example of that. This truck has a superior ride in terms of dampening shock, vibrations, all of that stuff. It feels very smooth. It's very comfortable overall. The seats themselves are probably the single standout negative item for me, because they don't feel that comfortable. And they are Denali seats. They're not the ultimate seats with the massaging, back and bottom to them. That said, they're not terrible. So I don't want to confuse anybody and make people believe that these seats are like sitting against a brick wall. They are much firmer than Ford and Ram seats. So if you prefer a firm seat, even a firm seat that remains that way after a long drive, then you may really like these seats. But for me, I don't mind a firm seat, but I like it to have kind of a break-in period to where it starts feeling a little bit softer the longer you drive, where it doesn't compress as much, but it still has kind of that comfortable, cozy feel to it. And I just don't feel these seats deliver that to me very well. Now, aside from that, I'll tell you one area that I thought I would give this truck negative marks, but I ended up giving it really positive marks, would be the infotainment system, the navigation system right here, as well as the dash instrument cluster. This is all one solid screen, and I've always been a fan of physical gauges on the instrument cluster, and this truck doesn't have them anymore. However, they give you so many options in terms of how you want the layout to be presented to you. You can have it in this more classic view where it's, digital gauges. You can have it in a very simplistic view, and you can customize the heck out of it. And I've actually grown to really appreciate that. I also have more levels of brightness and darkness, which is also really handy on really dark nights or really bright days. In terms of the navigation system, I felt at first that I wouldn't like this system because I thought I'd prefer a much larger kind of screen from a portrait perspective. But this screen being laid out horizontally, really wide the way it is, has actually been a really, really great screen to look at. It's given you the ability to put your air conditioning vents above it and next to each other. So as far as airflow, it feels a lot more uniform. You can get a lot more precise with it, and you don't have to worry about a vent kind of blowing on you when you don't want it to blow on you. So I've been really pleased with how the air conditioning, the infotainment, this whole center stack is laid out, along with the buttons and the controls and everything. I thought, again, I would have issues with it, but I'll tell you what, when it comes to Ford and Ram, I've always liked the Ford infotainment system. I have not been a big fan of the Ram system because I thought it was way too busy, way too many icons, too many things going on. But this right here is the perfect blend between the two. I mean, it gives you a really, really intuitive, adaptive, and easy to follow screen set. Some of the icons are a little confusing, but it certainly gives you a lot of really, really easy ways to navigate what you're looking for. And the use of Google Maps gives you a mapping system that is so much more precise than any of the other navigation systems I've worked with. So very, very pleased with the system in here. I also like the interaction with Google. So I can go, hey Google, what's the weather like today?
Right now in Corpus Christi, it's 81 degrees and sunny. Today, it'll be cloudy, with a forecasted high of 82 and a low of 65.
So the system works very well, and it's very intuitive, and it's definitely a perk if you want to use a system you're probably already familiar with if you have an Android phone, or even if you're using Apple, and you can directly understand and start using without a huge learning curve. So that's really nice. I haven't used OnStar yet, even though the truck is equipped with it. I haven't used a lot of the features in here, including all the trailering features, which are super cool, but until I install a camera inside of a trailer, out the back of the trailer, I'm not going to be able to do the magic or the invisible trailer setup. So I'm going to have to get all of that equipment to practically make this work. And those cameras aren't cheap. They're actually pretty dang expensive, like $500 or $600 for the setup. So I'm looking at about $1,200 in if I want to get the cameras that can connect to the truck so I can use all the trailering screens. One thing I've grown to love, I absolutely love this feature about this truck. When I turn the camera feature on, I can actually have it stay on while I'm driving. Now, if you're using it for like a top-down view or a trailer ball view, things like that, it'll only stay on for a short period of time. But if you're using it in reverse camera mode, you actually have the ability to have the camera stay on indefinitely while you're driving. So I thought it would time out on me after, you know, a minute or so, maybe 20-30 seconds. But when you have it in the reverse camera mode, it'll stay on the whole time you're driving. And it actually comes in really handy. It's a really cool system. So it gives you the ability to see what's going on behind you while you're actively driving through the camera on the tailgate. Even though there's a camera up here, this camera doesn't give you nearly as much perspective as this camera does down here. And again, I've really, really grown to appreciate the cameras on this truck. It's got a lot of really great views, and the views are practical. They're actually views that you would want to use. You can look at all sorts of ones, like a straight top down. You can look straight down at the ball. You can see the back tires, the front tires. You can look out the front. You can look out the back. I mean, it's just a really, really practical system that, in my opinion, is one of the best camera systems on the market. Now, I know Ford has a lot of really new camera angles on their newer trucks, but I believe the Ford system is still going to shut the camera off after you exceed a certain speed or you go for a certain period of time, which is a reason why I don't really care for that system. Since this system just gives you visibility and it's not really a distraction, it's nice to have cameras that you can turn on the entire time you're driving. Now, the reason why I pulled in right here is because I want to give you kind of a, I guess it's not really a negative, it's just one of those things that I think could have been a little better. And that's the turning angle on here. My F450 can do a U-turn better than almost any truck I've ever been in. But this truck right here actually does not have as good a turning radius as my F450 does. It's similar to some of the other trucks I've driven, but I'll tell you that Ford seems to have a slightly better turning radius. Ram would probably tie with this. They're probably about the same for a short bed crew cab pickup truck. Now, my F450 is an 8-foot bed truck crew cab with a wide track front axle, and that's what gives me that incredible turning angle. I really wish the manufacturers would work on improving the turning angle of all of their trucks, because with a towing package like this truck has, you want to be able to maneuver and negotiate trailers as best possible with the most maneuverability you have. And I believe having, superior turning angles really allows for that. And again, this truck just has kind of an okay turning radius. It's not as good as I would like it. Now, it's not horrible in the sense that I have to make like a 3-point turnaround to do a U-turn on a roadway, but it just barely keeps it within that third lane whenever we're making a U-turn, just like you just saw in the video. Now, other features I really like about the truck, I love the fact that I can go into the My GMC app, I can start my truck, I can honk the horn, I can unlock the tailgate independently of the doors. That's super cool. It doesn't open it, it just unlocks it, which is really nice. I can unlock the doors, I can do all sorts of really cool things, including track the vehicle. So I actually have the ability to use GPS to know where my vehicle is, and that is really, really cool, and it's a great feature to have. Now, in terms of bed utilization, now 5 3/4 foot bed, short bed truck, you can't stuff a ton of stuff back there, but you can put a good amount of things. I mean, it's a pickup truck still. Multi-Pro tailgate. My opinion of that tailgate is, I love the fact that when you're using it as a step, it's a really nice wide platform, lower to the ground, easier to step into. I don't know if I'm ever going to use it as a load stop. I know that's one of the features, but I don't ever really see a situation to where I'm going to have something that is going to be that perfect length to use the load stop feature on the Multi-Pro tailgate. And the handle, I don't really have any use for the handle, which flips up from the side of the bed, because the tailgate step itself is so wide and low to the ground that you really don't need that type of assistance. Where on the Ford, you really do want to have that handle out sometimes if you're going to be getting in and out of the tailgate, because the tailgate is a very narrow step and it's not very deep. So you want some additional stability that you don't really need here, because the Multi-Pro tailgate essentially acts as an actual set of stairs going into the bed of the truck. The truck sits relatively low. I wish it sat up just a little bit higher than it currently does. I definitely don't have a tremendous amount of ground clearance considering this is a 4-wheel drive truck, but I'll tell you, it is super easy to get in and out of the truck for just about anybody. If you get the auto-deploying running boards on the side, which you really don't need on this truck, if you have the standard running boards, because they just kind of slide out instead of sliding down like on my Ford or other trucks that are equipped with steps like that. But if you get it with the standard steps, I mean, it's like the perfect height to get into and out of the truck, which is really nice. Aside from that, I love the fuel economy. The diesel engine is nice and quiet. Actually, I'm going to stop by Walmart while I'm here. And, there's a lot of really, really great things about this truck that are nice. Perfect acceleration, braking is really good. Again, it's just a really great all-around truck, and it's absolutely a truck that I could own and like owning for a long period of time. Lacking 12-volt outlets and lacking additional 110 outlets definitely is something that I don't really care for. However, you kind of learn to live around it, which is something that I've done. I've learned to deal with the fact that I don't have 12-volt outlets and things like that, and you end up just buying things or adapters for things that allow you to use accessories without those. And for me, I just put a power strip attached to it, and it's a relatively small power strip. I'm not going to try to overload it. It's just for small things like my dash camera, things like that, but it works out fine for me. Overall, though, I'm really enjoying the truck. It's actually been a real pleasure to own. I don't have anything, overtly negative to say about the truck, except for the seats being just a little less comfortable than I'd prefer. Anyways, guys, I gotta hop into Walmart real quick. I gotta pick up a few things for the wife. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you again very soon.